Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host, Clay Douglas. My guest today is John DiNardo, and we're going to be talking about Planet X. If you've got questions, you can a couple of things you can do. You can call in on the show on a blog talk at 646-915-8774 while we're doing the show. And you can also go to the link on freeamerican.com and click on the chat room and come in there and join Max and Bocephus and Truth Pilgrim, and I'm sure Grump will be showing up there too. Hello, John. How are you?
Hi, Clay. I'm glad to be joining you and your audience.
Well, nice to have you. You've kind of been a fan of mine for many years, haven't you? You were a subscriber to the Free American magazine. You listened to my shortwave shows too, didn't you?
Yeah, going back to the early 90s.
Yeah, I started all this about 1994.
Right, and you were the first guy to actually publicize the concept of Planet X. Nobody else would talk about it.
That's right. I seem to talk about a lot of things that other people don't talk about, you know.
Well, so many people are rehashing the same stories about the New World Order, and it is vital information. But there's so many patriot broadcasters that are repeating the same information that we really need to get some other vital information that everybody is ignoring. In fact, this information about Planet X will make the New World Order seem like an anthill. That's why it's so important that we talk about
I think they're preparing for it. They are certainly preparing for it. Why else would our government be spending billions of dollars, trillions of dollars, building underground shelters? And this is pretty common knowledge. I mean, they even allowed Jesse Ventura to visit one of these things. Or why would they be having food vaults with heritage seeds? I don't think they're storing Monsanto's, no food that we don't own, genetically modified crap in these underground seed vaults up in Finland, isn't it?
Norway.
Norway, yes, sir.
To the Arctic Circle, where the cold temperatures will keep the seeds.
And I've got some pretty bright people on my chat room, and they say the frequency of great earthquakes is increasing. We've got fires burning right now in Russia that is threatening the whole country. Now again, back to these underground shelters. I mean, why would we build it? Are we still planning for a nuclear war in this united one world government?
No, the other underground shelters. Incidentally, Marshall Masters, in his book Planet X Forecast, stated that there were, as of the writing of that book, there were 131 underground cities. They spent trillions of dollars building these cities. They've used nuclear-powered tunneling machines to tunnel through the deep rock, and they are able to drill through or create tunnels 28 feet high by 28 feet wide, big enough to get a truck through, at a rate of 7 miles per day. This is what Marshall Masters reported in his book. And Phil Schneider was a well-known, highly credentialed geologist who worked for the United States government for 17 years. He had given talks to many government officials of foreign nations, and Phil Schneider realized that he had to reveal this information to the public, and he began to make speeches back in the mid-1990s. They tried to kill him numerous times, and finally they succeeded. Phil Schneider was a brave man, a great hero, And this is another piece of vital information that proves that these people are prepared to go underground. They're going to be doing it soon, if not already. One of my ideas was that I need people to help in this project of finding dignitaries, world famous dignitaries who are going underground. It is so important that we detect when Queen Elizabeth disappears from public sight, when Prince Philip disappears from public sight, when Maurice Strong, David Rockefeller, Stephen Rockefeller, all these people start to disappear. Because when they go underground, that means we're about to be hit. We're about to be hit by meteor strikes or some other natural disaster. Because
now there have been increasing reports of meteor strikes down, I believe, in South America, somewhere near South America.
Yes, that's true. And the reason why you'll see more meteor strikes right now in the southern hemisphere is because Planet X is coming up from below our ecliptic plane. Our ecliptic plane is a huge invisible disk, like a compact disk in space. And this, on this invisible disk revolve all the planets of our solar system around the sun. The sun would be like the hub of the compact disk. And Planet X is coming up from below it. This is scientifically shown from many, scientifically and archaeologically proven to be coming in. This planet comes in on a cometary orbit, and its orbital period is approximately 3,600 years.
How long again?
Approximately 3,600 years. And we have found evidence, archaeological and ecological evidence, geological evidence to indicate that the last time it came in, it created disasters. For example, dated around 1660 BC, 3,660 years ago, the great Santorini volcanic caldera exploded. It had the highest volcanic explosive index that these geologists have determined was the highest ever since in all of history, including recorded history. And this had put out a cloud of ash that covered, it was in the Aegean Sea, and it covered the entire area, destroyed the Minoan civilization, the famed advanced Minoan civilization in those Aegean islands. That cloud of ash drifted down and covered the entire land of Egypt. And you will see in the book of Exodus, chapter 9, where God tells Moses and Aaron to pull up handfuls of ashes from the furnace and throw these ashes up in the air in the face of Pharaoh and his magicians. And God said that all this ash would come down as hot, burning embers over the entire land of Egypt. And at that time, that cloud of ash from the Santorini volcano drifted over Egypt and fulfilled that prophecy. Absolutely amazing. But we have other evidence there. We have tree rings. When scientists examine the tree rings, they find that tree rings about 3,600 years ago are very narrow. And the reason for that is that when you have a volcanic winter, a nuclear winter, where the skies are covered with ash, there's this great deprivation of sunlight and all vegetation suffers. And that's what happened with those trees. That's why the tree rings were narrow 3,600 years ago. So we have geological, we have ecological evidence that this thing comes in every 3,600 years. Now, if you go back another 3,600 years from the time of the Exodus, 1660 BC, to around 5,300 BC, you'll find that there's some geologists by the name of Ryan and Pittman, two geologists, Ryan and Pittman, P-I-T-M-A-N, who have done studies and found that the Dead Sea in Russia, the Black Sea in Russia, shows great evidence of the great flood of Noah's day having occurred